The Season 7 Game of Thrones teaser just dropped and left us with some Westeros-shattering takeaways. It's the first we've seen of the infuriatingly delayed 7th season, and even though it's clearly promotional and contains nothing that will probably end up in the actual show, it still gave us a ton of clues as to some of the season's themes and scenarios bent on keeping us glued to the thrones in our living rooms. So hold the phone and hold the door. Because we're gonna break down 5 major things we learned from the trailer. Starting off, this teaser features 3 of our favorite characters, Jon, Dany, and Cersei, taking their places at their newly claimed thrones. But why these 3? The obvious implication is that these 3 are the ones that will be in the final battle for the Iron Throne, except Jon and Dany are already on the same side, so is it possible one of them is getting ready to stab the other in the back? Maybe. Or maybe all 3 of them end up on the same side. Maybe these 3 are the prophesized 3 heads of the dragon. Now, for those that don't know or just forgot, the 3 heads of the dragon is a prophecy that states in order for Dany to finally take back Westeros, she will need allies who will bond with her dragons and fly with her into victory. It's always been assumed that Jon would be the first ally, and in all likelihood, Tyrion would be the second, especially after he did a little dragon whispering in Season 6. But what if that's all wrong? What if Cersei is actually the second ally? And sure, we know it may be hard to imagine a Snow and a Targaryen taking up arms with a Lannister, unless of course there was a much larger threat looking you right in the eye, like maybe an icy cold army of the undead. Takeaway number 2, the endgame. After all the twists and turns we've seen from past seasons, the intrigue, the incest, the systematic killing off of all of our favorite characters, we get the idea that it has ultimately come down to Daenerys, Jon, and Cersei to lead their various armies towards victory or defeat. We even get a glimpse at how each of them has embraced their roles as rulers. As Daenerys takes a seat on her throne, we get a sense of righteousness as if she's finally found justice and claimed the kingdom she was Stormborn to rule. Cersei, on the other hand, plops down with a look of smug satisfaction as all of her artful machinations have finally borne throne-shaped fruit. Then, of course, there's Jon Snow, who, well, looks like he always does, grim, sorrowful, and heavy-headed, with a crown he most likely doesn't want. You know nothing, Jon Snow, because being a king is cool! I would be a great king. Speaking of cool, so is number 3, which is really just a tag-along to number 2, the song. Titled Sit Down by British 90s alt-rocker James, this piece is basically a proclamation demanding of Dany, Jon, and Cersei that they sit the F down and rule however they see fit. The song's lyrics, with love and fear and hate and tears, even point to their varying leadership styles. Love is Daenerys' game, hate belongs to Cersei, and surprise, surprise, Jon is the fearful, tearful one. Now on to number 4, the thrones. Naturally, Cersei scooches her caboose into the Iron Throne, and Jon cops a squat in what is most likely the Great Hall of Winterfell, but where the hell is Dany? This is a throne we've never seen before. Well, chances are this is Dragonstone, the original seat of House Targaryen in Westeros and Daenerys' birthplace. If you've been paying attention, this is the castle that Robert Baratheon dumped on his brother Stannis after the defeat of the Mad King Aerys Targaryen. But here, we might very well be seeing Daenerys finally coming home to roost, having made the perilous journey across the narrow sea. Good for you, Dany. You did it. We think. And lastly, number 5, winter. It's not just coming anymore, it looks like it's finally here. We get hints at this with Cersei's frozen breath as she exhales straight to camera from King's Landing, a normally warm and balmy place that suddenly seems to have chilled down. If you're into reading between the lines, this could also be symbolic. Cersei could be the walking, talking harbinger of winter, and this little frigid peak could be cluing us in that it's perhaps her decisions as ruler that brings the White Walkers closer to King's Landing. If we know anything about Cersei, she's up to no good. Maybe she'll use the invading army of White Walkers as leverage against her enemies, refusing to help unless everyone submits to her will, or she could just sit back and let the White Walkers thin out the herd of Lannister haters until she sees fit to launch a counterstrike. Then, of course, there's the White Walker, probably their trusty leader, the Night King himself, who pops in at the end of the trailer. If anyone's gonna bring the winter, it's this guy. Which means bad news for Westeros and bad news for us, because now that winter is here, this means the beginning of the end, not only for most of the characters we've come to love, but for the series itself, which is barreling towards its conclusion far sooner than we'd like. So what do you think? Are Jon and Daenerys gonna ship each other? Oh, I hope not. Will Cersei f everything up for Westeros? Oh, I hope so. And if winter is here, is July really the best time to give it to us? Let's discuss.